What's going on, YouTube? How's everybody doing today? Thanks for tuning into Arkham. If you haven't subscribed, I ask you very nicely, it would be really cool if you would subscribe. And if you make it to the end of the video and you liked it, hit that like button, as it helps the channel out. And don't forget to share as well. Woohoo! I wanted to talk about something kind of like a story time, so to say. Yes, it's raining, by the way. It's more like a drizzle right now, but I just got off work, had a long shift, and it's been raining on my bike the whole time. It wasn't raining when I went to work yesterday, but it was when I got back. So, anywho, story time. This is a story about when I was probably around the age of 8. I'm gonna say that's a good age. I think 8, maybe 9. My brother was in the marching band in high school. He played the trumpet, and one year his marching band got invited to go down to Disney World to play in a parade. And so my mom was really excited, and we all got to go to Disney World. Well, my dad didn't. He was driving a truck at the time. So my dad's mom was going to go with us, and my first cousin went with us. Now, I have to tell you something before I go any further. My dad's mom is very country. She wasn't raised in the city. She's very, very country and not used to being in the city, as far as I know. She's just very... Let me explain it to you like this. The word fire to her is far. That's how country she is. So now that we got that out of the way, we went to Disney World, and at the time I was experimenting with rides, as you know that age usually does. And I saw the sky gondolier things, that like the sky buckets that takes you from one side of the park to the other. Back then they had those. I don't know if they still have them or not. I just was in Disney World like 4 months ago, and I don't remember them being there, but I probably wasn't paying attention. Anyway, back on the story. We saw those sky buckets, and I was like, Mom, I really want to ride the sky buckets. And I thought I was going to be cool, you know, big boy riding the sky buckets way up in the air. My brother was with the marching band at the time. They were off doing their own thing, and they had a time that they had to be at the parade. Hello. So my mother was wanting to see him in the parade, and it was kind of necessary that she go ahead and go on. And she was like, well, why don't we wait until after this, and then we'll bring you back and do the sky buckets. And my grandmother, being the grandmother she is, she really loved me, wanted to give me everything that I asked for. I could not have asked for this day to have gone any worse. Like, I wish she would have just listened to my mother at this point. Me being 8 years old, I'm thinking this park is massive, which it's not really that big looking back. I know that park like the back of my hand now, of course. I'm 30 years old almost, but at this age, I thought, man, this place is huge. Big old place, and I could get lost here. And that's what I used to think, you know. I'd go to places like that, and I'm like, what if I lose my mom? By the way, I was a big mama's boy. I was like really big mama's boy. I did not like being gone from mama for too long, even at that age. My grandmother, being the grandmother she was, she loved to give me things that I wanted. And she was going to take me to ride the sky buckets while my mother went and dealt with my brother in his parade. My first cousin went with my mother, and so it was just me and my grandmother. Remember how I said my grandmother was a country woman? She wasn't really a city woman. She didn't, you know, she wasn't used to that much enclosure like that, like all the buildings and all the people. Just, she wasn't, you know, used to that kind of stuff. She was more out in the open country. So we get up to the sky buckets, and guess what? I chicken out. I mean, I'm 8. Nowadays I'd ride nearly anything. But back then, I was like, I don't want to ride that. I'm ready to just go see Mom. Where's Mom? Now, back up a little bit. My mom said when I get done, or when we get done, she told my grandmother, let's meet at the castle. Well, guys, I don't know if you've ever been to Disney World, but even if you haven't, what is the most center location of that park? The castle. We walked around, like we went to the castle, and then we went this way, and then we went back to the castle. We walked through the castle, and I remember being at one point in the park, and by the way, you can see the castle from nearly every point in the park. I remember being at one point in the park that you literally could see the castle. I mean, it was plain as day, but it looked like it was a good like 5-minute walk to the castle, maybe 10-minute walk to the castle. So we had to be in like Adventureland or something. Anyway, I seen the castle. I was sitting there looking at it, and I remember sitting there and getting nervous, and my grandmother could see it, and she looked at me and said, where is the castle at? And I was 8-year-old dumbfounded. I'm like, what? Where's the castle? I literally, like, I've been a smart aleck all my life, and I literally looked up at her and held my hands up. I said, do you not see the giant castle in the air? Like, you can't miss it. It's right there. We walked around for hours. We got there when the park opened, if I'm not mistaken. And this was like at the beginning of the day when I wanted to ride these sky buckets. We walked around for hours, and that was the problem. We kept walking. When she said go to the castle, she meant go to the castle and wait, not go looking for her because you're getting impatient. I'm like, what is wrong with you? Why are we walking around? We got to go to the castle. My grandmother is now trying to find a way to console me, because like I said earlier, I'm a mama's boy, and I was terrified that I would never see my mama again. 8 years old, terrified. I don't even know why I'm telling you this part, but that's just the way it was. I'm sitting here crying, and she's like trying to make me feel better. And something happens. I don't even remember what happened. We get to laughing, and I've got so much of a mixed emotions going on in me right now. I'm laughing, but a few minutes ago I was crying, and then I realized that I'm laughing, and I think to myself, no, I'm mad, I'm crying, and she's still laughing about whatever it was that was funny. I get upset at her, and I look up at her and I say, hey, stop laughing. And she says, I can't, it's funny. I said, do you want to go to your room? And I kid you not, I guess this is where I get my smart aleck from. She looked right at me and said, yes, I do. I'm like, I do too. We walk around to the point where it's time to close shop. Like, Disney World is closing. Last call, everybody out. We go to the car, or not, no, we don't go to the car. Let me back up. We go to get on the monorail, and at this point I am hysterical because we're leaving and I have not found my mother. Like, this is not right. This is not how it's supposed to go. We should have found my mother. By the way, I haven't rode in there. I didn't ride a single ride, I don't think, that day. I think I may have rode Dumbo. Like, I didn't ride anything. My whole trip to Disney World was trying to find my mother with my grandmother. So we're leaving, and we're going to get back onto the monorail to go to the area where all the parking lot is. And I knew that monorail stopped more than once. what I didn't know is there was only one parking lot, like to park your car at. Like, I know there's parking lots for like the resorts and stuff, but I thought that there was like multiple parking lots. That's how big I felt Disney World was. I felt like this place stretched across an entire state. For some reason, that's how my mind pictured. We had like, I felt like we had like 5 different parking lots for this one theme park. And there's only one. Like, it's massive, of course, but I thought that we were going to get off of the wrong stop on that monorail. But my grandmother actually knew where to get off. Or luck had it, we got off at the right spot one. I don't know. So we're sitting there at the, like right there next to the monorail. There's a little... Back then it was a lot, it was kind of different. It's kind of differently set up. There was a little bench sitting there and we could walk out to the parking lot. I just, in my head, I can remember what it looked like, but we're sitting there and we're waiting and we're waiting. With every time that monorail stopped, I looked up to see if my mother was getting off. And at one point, I'd just lost it. I was like, she left me. She's gone forever. I will never see my mother again. I will live my life in the Disney World parking lot with my grandmother. This older gentleman who worked at Disney World, he was like one of the ticket booth guys. He walked over there to me. He said, "What's wrong, son?" And I said, "I lost my mom and I can't find her." And he did so cool. He was really good. He said, "Now, young man, you're supposed to be a little man. You need to understand your mama ain't gonna leave you. I know better than that." And I mean, he was just doing all he could to cheer me up, and he did a good job. Then my grandmother had the idea to go to the car. And yet again, I was like, she ain't got a clue where we parked. Because I don't have a clue where we parked. And I'm smarter than her, is what I'm thinking. No, you know how 8-year-olds, they're the smartest kids in the world. I'm like, she don't know where we are, because I don't know where we are. We get and start walking towards the parking lot, and we actually find the car, like, right off. I guess she knew more than I thought. And sorry guys, my phone is ringing in my ear and I'm trying to talk to the camera. We sat there because the car was locked, of course, like it should be. We sat there and waited and waited, and all of a sudden the little trolleys that take you out to your car, one pulled up and out stepped my mother. And you talking about meeting your family for the first time in like a year at the airport type of greeting. Like, it was emotional, crying, snotting, you name it. It was intense. Uh-oh, I stalled. I was so tired at this point. Like, I remember we were headed, like, our hotel was in Baseball City, Florida. And I remember my mother getting lost herself in Orlando area and stopping and asking for directions. And I remember her asking, I think it was some like redneck dude or something, and he was like, she goes, "Do you know where Baseball City is?" And this guy said, "Are y'all looking to go play baseball?" It's like 3 a.m. at this point. My mother and my grandmother and me and my cousin. And she's like, "Do we look like we're going to go play baseball? We're staying in Baseball City." And that's all I remember of that car trip. The next thing I know, I'm like walking up some stairs. So I must have somehow been asleep for part of this. Like, I must have been sleepwalking for part of the journey, because I was walking upstairs with a bag in my hand headed to our room. It was so funny. But anyway, guys, that was my story time for the day. I hope you enjoyed it. If you like to see more content like this, hit that like button. and leave me a comment down below. A cousin of mine, Lauren, she's the one that gave me the idea to do story time. And when she told me like I needed to do a story time, I took and like that story clicked in my head. I was like, well, that's a good story. So I hope you guys enjoyed my little story about me getting lost in Disney World when I was a kid. It was a journey, that's for sure. Anyways, guys, this will be it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys are having a good day. See you next video. Where's the castle? Wait, where is the castle?